Okay, today we're on page 7 of our Chapter 1 notes, Section 1.6, Factoring Polynomials. This should be review for you. You should recall this from a previous math course. First thing you always look for when factoring polynomials is if there's a greatest common factor. Is there something common to all terms? So in this case, in 1a, the trinomial 4x squared plus 8x minus 12, all three terms have a common factor of 4. So we factor out 4, and we end up with x squared plus 2x minus 3. Don't stop there. Remember to check, is the trinomial that's inside parentheses, is this factorable? The lead coefficient of x squared is 1, so we go to the constant -3. Are there factors of -3 that add to 2? Yes, +3 and -1. So then the trinomial factors into x plus 3 times x minus 1. And don't forget to bring over our GCF of 4. Next, 10x to the third plus 5x squared minus 20x. 5x is common to all three terms. Factor out 5x. And we have 2x squared plus x minus 4. See if the trinomial inside parentheses here is factorable. We check the lead coefficient is not 1, it's 2, so we multiply 2 times -4 and get -8. Are there factors of -8 that add to the coefficient of x, which is 1? No. So this has just the greatest common factor, and the trinomial, it's -4, is not factorable further. Next, our special factorizations, the difference of two perfect squares and the sum and difference of two cubes. First, perfect squares, 1 minus 64x squared. Each is a perfect square. Square root of 1 is 1, and the square root of 64x squared is 8x. So this factors into special factorization of 1 plus 8x and 1 minus 8x. For b, 200x squared minus 2y squared. They're not perfect squares, but again, there's a GCF, so factor out the GCF first. That's 2 times 100x squared minus y squared, and then the 100x squared minus y squared, that's the difference of two perfect squares, 10x and y. So going over to our answer line, greatest common factor 2, and then the difference of two perfect squares, 10x plus y times 10x minus y. The sum and difference of two cubes. Recall, a cubed plus b cubed. That factors into a binomial, a plus b, and the trinomial, a squared minus ab plus b squared. Remember the signs. If it's a sum of two cubes, the binomial is addition, and then the trinomial goes goes minus plus. If it's a difference of two cubes, the binomial is subtraction, it's a minus b, and the trinomial is plus plus. So it's a squared plus ab plus b squared. So just remember to keep the operations, the signs correct here. So 64x cubed plus 125, 64x cubed is 4x raised to the third, and 125 is 5 cubed. So this is the sum of two cubes. 4x cubed plus 5 cubed. So our binomial part of our factorization is 4x plus 5. And the trinomial is going to be 4x squared, which is 4x times 4x, 16x squared, minus their product, 4x times 5, which is 20x, plus 5 squared, which is 25. Next, 27y cubed minus 8. This is a difference of two cubes. 27y to the third can be expressed as 3y cubed and 8 as 2 cubed. So our factorization here for the difference of these two cubes is 3y minus 2 for the binomial, and the trinomial is 3y squared, which is going to be 9y squared, plus the product, 3y times 2, 6y, plus 2 squared, which is 4. Next, looking at trinomials, first when the leading coefficient is 1, and next when the leading coefficient is not 1. When the leading coefficient is 1, we look for the factors of the constant, in this case 27, that add to the coefficient of the linear term, that add to negative 12. And that would be negative 9 and negative 3. So this factors into x minus 9 times x minus 3. The next trinomial, y squared minus 3y minus 40, lead coefficient is 1. Factors of negative 40 that add to negative 3 are negative 8 and positive 5. So this factors into y minus 8 times y plus 5. And lastly, when the lead coefficient is not 1, this is where we do the factor in, factor out method. 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. Lead coefficient is 2. So we are going to multiply 2 times 6, the lead coefficient of your x squared terms, times the constant. 2 times 6 is 12. We write down 12 and then look for the factors of 12 that add to 7, 3 and 4. So now we draw a fraction bar. Whatever that lead coefficient is, that goes 3 places. Once down in the denominator, and then it starts off each binomial of the numerator. And finishing out the binomials of the numerator, it would be 2x plus 3 and 2x plus 4. So we have an extra factor of 2, so we're going to have to factor it out by dividing. We look at our two binomials in the numerator, and 2 will divide evenly into both terms of this single binomial. So you divide it in, and that gets us 2x plus, I'll go here, that gets us x plus 2, and then the remaining other factor of the numerator is just carried up. So x plus 2 times 2x plus 3. Next, 4x squared minus 12x plus 5. Lead coefficient is 4. There's no GCF. That's the first thing you always look for. Is there a greatest common factor? There is none. We'll go and multiply 4 times 5 is 20. The factors of 20 that add to negative 12, negative 2, and negative 10. Draw a fraction bar. The coefficient 4 goes 3 places down in the denominator, and then starts off each binomial of the numerator, finishing out the binomials 4x minus 2 and 4x minus 10. And you notice that 4 doesn't divide evenly into both terms of a single binomial in the numerator. So we break 4 down into 2 times 2, and then 1, 2 will divide into one binomial and the 2 into the other. So we end up with 2x minus 1, and taking 4x minus 10 and dividing by 2, 2x minus 5. And our last trinomial with the lead coefficient, in this case, is 6. We multiply 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. And now we're looking for the factors of negative 12 that add to negative 1, and that would be negative 4 and 3. Draw a fraction bar. 6 was the lead coefficient. Numerator, 6x minus 4 and 6x plus 3. Dividing by 6. 6 doesn't divide in evenly, so we break 6 down into 2 times 3. And 2 will divide evenly into 6x minus 4 and 3 into 6x plus 3. So 3x minus 2 times 2x plus 1. And that concludes factoring. Again, hopefully you recall this, especially make sure you remember and go back and remember the rules for the sum or difference of two cubes as far as how the signs go. If it's plus, if it's addition, it's plus and then minus plus. If it's subtraction, the difference of two cubes, it's minus and then plus plus. And that's it for today.